All right, everybody's ready? I'll take that as a yes. All right, hello there, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Mijmora.
And I'm the Viper.
And this is episode 13 of The Town Center, your podcast dedicated to all things Age of Empires. And in today's show, it's finally here. After a whole year without a Red Bull tournament, they've now released the official announcement of the next one, which will be happening in October this year in Spain. But, Arian, despite all the hype surrounding this announcement, there are a few things that I find a little bit puzzling and a little bit questionable that I'd like to talk about. Then we'll revisit some of the drama surrounding the new game in the Age of Empires franchise, Age of Empires Mobile, and the banning of a popular YouTuber. And for the second part of the podcast, we'll be joined by none other than Memb himself to talk about his upcoming Warlords 3 tournament and a bunch of other stuff. If you enjoy our show and would like to support it, you're more than welcome to like the video, comment, and perhaps even subscribe to the channel. It's free and it helps us. And if you want to support us even further, you can also subscribe to our Spotify channel, which will give you early access to all our episodes. On Spotify, every episode will be available for free after 48 hours, and if that's how you prefer to listen to us, don't forget to rate us 5 stars. All right, my friend, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and also I just want to say I've heard some news about some juicy Doubt video coming up soon, so stay tuned for that as well.
I did hear something about it as well, and who's going to be doing the narration for that video?
Could it be you?
Yeah, I've been practicing my epic voice. Hello. I've been trying to practice to sound a little bit more epic.
Is that the deepest you can go?
Come on, you're gonna do me like that? You serious?
Hello.
You're gonna do me like that?
No, I'm doing well. Things are rolling as usual, right? Still settling in and everything here. I feel like every time I'm talking about settling in at the moment, but it is what it is. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, my friend. I was just thinking about the weather is finally getting nicer. And when I was younger, I remember this. When I was younger, the weather did nothing to me. Whether it's raining outside, whether it's windy, whether it's cold, I could not care less. And now as I get older, the weather does so much to improve my mood. It's ridiculous. Right. I remember making fun of people that started conversations by talking about the weather. I get it now. I get it. It does so much for yourself.
You have become the meme.
I guess I have.
The reason you enjoy it is because I see up in the top of your corner there's a certain unit that will not make it as warm if my eyes do not deceive me. Is that an air conditioning unit?
Are we getting back to the? Do you approve of the positioning of the air conditioning?
Oh, it's right. It's not right over the door, so it's kind of okay. But point is, if right now today we're gonna have 27 degrees here. If I was back at my old apartment, I would be mad, right? But here, I'm chilling now. So I'm all on your side here, where it's like now the weather calming, getting good. It's improving my mood. I'm happy. So
you're funny.
I'm still scared about the high summer though. July, it's gonna be brutal.
You're funny. 27 degrees and you're already sweating, my friend.
Dude, it's so warm.
It's nothing, bro. What are you talking about? It's nothing. In any case, guys, I promise we're going to get to Age of Empires. All right, so yeah, let's talk about Red Bull. Red Bull hype. Let's talk about what we know so far. So the announcement was yesterday. By the time you're listening to this, it's going to be 2 days ago, actually. So we know that the whole thing is going to be taking place between the 3rd and the 6th of October. And we know that once more, this whole event is going to be featuring several Age of Empires games once more. So we have Age of Empires 1, and it's funny to me that this time around they're going to be using the Return to Rome mod. So
it makes sense, no?
I guess, but it's just funny to me because it's yet another attempt by Microsoft to desperately get that whole Vietnamese player base to finally adopt the game.
I don't think it's it's not. I don't think they necessarily are forcing them or trying to make them adopt the game. It's more like, okay, this is the game we made. This is the game we can control. Right? They don't want to showcase a tournament on the 1995 version of AoE 1, right? Which is understandable.
Unfortunately, that's not quite true, I imagine, because I don't know if you realize this. I didn't realize until I just saw someone saying it. The qualifiers are going to be played using the original game, and then the final is going to be played using the Return to Rome. Yeah, it's very confusing, very weird.
That is a bit weird. I mean, I do understand it because it gives the qualifying players the best platform to perform, right? But of course, whoever gets to the final will have to adapt to the AoE 2 version again, right? So I would see that being a bit frustrating as a player.
If that's not weird enough, how about the whole thing is only open to the Vietnamese community. If you're someone outside the Vietnamese community, you cannot sign up. But anyway,
just quickly, is there even anyone outside of the Vietnamese community that would be considered?
Probably not. Probably
enough
not, right?
Yeah,
Probably
exactly.
Not. Yeah.
Right.
I think they're going to be inviting 8 players. That's what I understood. They're going to be inviting 8 players, and all of those guys are going to be from the Vietnamese community.
Yeah. And only the 2 finalists go to the castle and play there.
That's what I remember. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so we were talking about the games that are going to be featured in the event. It's Age of Empires 1, Age of Empires 2. To the great relief of the Age of Empires 4 community, Age of Empires 4 is going to be included, even though in a somewhat smaller scale compared to Age of Empires 2, and especially compared to what they had in the last edition of Red Bull. And we're going to have Age of Mythology retold. Now, this is also an interesting thing because I don't know if you're actually going to have the full game. I don't know if the game is going to be released by then. I don't think anyone knows. So I don't know if that's going to be the actual game or like a beta version or anything of the sorts. Remains to be seen, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like if you want to have open qualifiers and like allow anyone to compete and try to qualify for the Age of Mythology tournament, I'll do that if the game is not released, right? Or do you maybe just like give it to the selected, like the community members that are like known from mythology and let them fight it out, right?
My guess, it's going to be something very similar to the Age of Empires 1 part of the event. You know, they're going to pick players that they know are good at the game, and we'll showcase Age of Mythology in a good light and stuff like
I was going to train, man, for mythology. That was my dream.
I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would.
But I think, from Age of Mythology, they didn't announce any details yet, right? Regarding qualifying.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
There's like a notification that there will be more information in the near future soon. You know, the good old soon. In any case, for our game, Age of Empires 2, we have $150,000 prize pool, which is lower than Red Bull Legacy. Needs to be said. It was 200,000, but higher than Red Bull 5, which was 100,000. The main event is going to have 8 players in total, which again is lower than the 14 that we had for Red Bull 5, and even lower than the 16 that we had for Red Bull 6. Tado as the champion is directly invited. There's another direct invitation, which to me is a bit weird that they didn't reveal who that is. Maybe at some point it's going to make sense to me. I don't know why they didn't reveal it. In any case, the rest, the 6 players, will have to qualify. And speaking of qualifying, in what is certain to spark a lot of discussion, which is already taking place, 4 spots will be given through an in-game ranked list. So this is through the matchmaking system, basically. That's a doozy. And the other 2 will have the chance to qualify through an open qualifier that will be taking place in August. So there's a lot to unpack here. Before we get to the qualifiers, I want to point something out that I think, I'm not even claiming that this is bad or anything, but I just think it's worth pointing out, which the event this time around is going to be on a somewhat smaller scale. Seems pretty obvious to me, right? So you have Red Bull 5, for example, was 7 days long. Red Bull 6 was 9 days long. We have fewer players this time around. Now, again, I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing, but I do wonder why. And my explanation for this, I guess, in my mind would be that this is a bit, it's a bit a sign of the times. We've been talking about this many times before. After the pandemic, there's a sort of a trend in the whole esports industry of decreasing everything, decreasing the grandeur and the size of certain tournaments. I've heard that a lot of salaries in sort of tier 1 games have been decreasing as well. And so this just seems to me like it's Red Bull sort of bringing the investment in line to what the reality on the ground looks like, right? What do you see happening here?
But I think it makes sense as well. Like, even though, of course, Red Bull and Microsoft, they have money. Let's not pretend anything else, right? It doesn't make sense for them to like. I would compare it to like Saudi in football right now, right? It's like there is a market, and the market prices are roughly. Everyone knew like roughly where the line was in Europe, and then Saudi comes in and like overpays for every single player, right? It doesn't make sense if Age of Empires has tournaments and then Red Bull comes in and just like, oh, this tournament is 10 times bigger than every other tournament. It's just like, just keep it more on a normal line. So it's also giving it more chances to stay on for longer, right? As well, right? If they throw in a massive amount of money, which I mean they are doing, let's be honest, the costs are not only in the prize pool, then they might not get return of investment, right? So I think it also makes sense that they do keep it a little bit more moderate. And again, I mean, still, the price pool is still massive, right? it's $150,000 for Age of Empires 2 alone. And like obviously it was never going to be the same price pool as the Red Bull Wololo Legacy, which was like the culmination of the Age of Empires history and everything. So I'm honestly very happy with how high the price pool is, and maybe even surprisingly high.
Yeah, I was thinking about it too. Considering that everything else in the tournament was a little bit smaller in terms of size, it's weird to me. But then I thought the prize pool, I don't think has anything to do with Red Bull, right? Prize pool is usually, I'm not sure if in this case it's the same as in all the years prior that Microsoft is actually sponsoring the prize pool. And if that's the case, and I'd very heavily assume that Microsoft is sponsoring the $150,000, right? And I believe the calculations that Microsoft makes in terms of investment are not the same calculations that Red Bull does, right? What I think might be happening here as well is that we're going to have the Age of Mythology, as we just said, right? And so there might be a little bit of promotion going on here in Microsoft's head, you know? So let's promote the Age of Empires side of things, which we know is what's going to bring the most amount of viewers. And by the way, we do know a little bit of the schedule of the event, and we do know that the final, or that the event, the Age of Mythology event, is going to be taking place in the same day that the final of Age of Empires 2 and the Age of Empires 1 is going to be taking place. So what I see here is a bit of a promotion thing going on from Microsoft's side, right? They know they're going to get a lot of people there, and they know that they're trying to launch this new product, so getting a bit more money might get more folks interested in it too.
Yeah, I mean, all finals are on the same day, right? The Sunday. It's as far as
not 4, not Age of Empires 4. Age of Empires 4 is on the third day.
Didn't they say that on 26th 4 new champions will be crowned? I think that's what I read in the.
Ooh. Okay, so there seems to be a bit of contradicting information here. I did see a post from Robo, and I know I trust Robo. Robo was quoting somebody else too, but it was like a press release, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And it did say in there that on the third day, they're going to have semifinals for Age of Empires 2 and final for Age of Empires 4. That's what I remember seeing.
I think that makes sense as well with the time frame, right? And you have 3 big matches on the Saturday, and then on Sunday you have AoE 1, Age of Mythology, and probably a long AoE 2 final. So I can see that making sense. And also that also like spreads it out a bit for like, let's say you're an Age of Empires 4 fan. You don't have to sit through the whole Sunday to watch the Age of Empires 4 final, for example, if you come for AoE 4, right? No, it makes sense. But also like, it's also like, no, never mind. No, it makes sense. I think it's a good way to do it.
It just makes sense. That's it. I was wondering if this sort of smaller investment in this event would have to do with them being disappointed, perhaps, with the viewership that they had in the event prior. But after doing a little bit of research, I find that very hard to believe, and I'll let you in on my research. So on Red Bull's YouTube channel, it's actually pretty hard to say because they have like these 2 tabs, you know? You have like the video tab and you have the live tab, which I believe is live streams, right? Yeah. So if you go to the video tab, you do need to scroll down a fair bit until you actually see the first Age of Empires video. And that's interestingly enough, I think it's like the highlights video for Red Bull 5, if I'm not mistaken. On the live tab, though, the 5th most watched stream is actually an Age of Empires stream. Interestingly enough, a bit random in my opinion, that's Red Bull 2, the final between Lyri and Hera, which has like 350,000 viewers or something. On Twitch, though, the numbers are amazing. I knew they were great, but they're even better than I thought. So in 2022, that's the year Red Bull Legacy took place, out of the games with the highest average viewership on their channel on Twitch, number 1 is Age of Empires 1, number 2 is Age of Empires 2. And we were ahead of games like Valorant and Counter-Strike and Elden Ring and that kind of stuff. For peak viewership, we're second behind Valorant, and 2022 is similar. We have the 3rd highest average for the whole year and the 2nd highest peak. So viewership is amazing for these tournaments, right? So I don't think if Red Bull is sort of investing a little bit less money this time around, I don't think it's got to do with viewership, right?
Yeah, no, it's as you said. I think it's just sign of the times, right? And it's also like they're now at the Newcastle, right? Where
Almodovar.
Yeah, and the castle that was also in Game of Thrones, by the way. That castle they used it in Game of Thrones, which is really cool. Also the trailer with Tato standing there.
The trailer is amazing.
That was so cool.
Wait, for what part of Game of Thrones though? What city was there?
One of the castles in Game of Thrones. I don't remember exactly which one, but I know it was used there.
I try to forget about that show. It was so disappointing.
Only the last season, but yeah.
No, wait, what do you mean the last 3 seasons were garbage?
Yeah, okay. It definitely was on a steady downwards decline, but the start was great. But anyway, Game of Thrones is not what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, it's not really.
Yeah, like sign of the times. I think as well. Like, I mean, they're still making a massive investment, right? People might look at, oh, it's not necessarily as big as the previous one, but let's take that out of the equation.
Yeah.
It's still a massive single investment into the game, right? And as you said, prize pool, maybe it's by Microsoft. Even then, that's like still crazy amounts, right? And Red Bull wouldn't do this tournament if Microsoft says, hey, we're going to give you $10,000 for the prize pool, right? Red Bull is just like, how are we going to make this hype, right?
Absolutely.
So there's probably a discussion back and forth with them about everything. And all I know is that I'm super hyped, and I think the tournament will be amazing.
I think so too. All right, so let's discuss the qualifiers, or the lack thereof, to be more precise here. So as we just said before, they're going to be using the ranked ladder, so basically the matchmaking system to qualify 4 of the players. I guess I don't want to make this too negative, so let's start with the positives of this change. Well, one of them is that obviously this is going to foster a lot more activity on the ladder, right? So everybody's going to be trying to grind.
Yeah.
And something else, which I'm not necessarily sure if it's a good thing, but I'll mention it anyway. It's innovative. You know, they're trying stuff out. It's something that I've been complaining about to myself, not really publicly, that I think a lot of the tournament organizers, not all tournament organizers for sure, they tend to stick to what they know works and what they know works for themselves, which is 100% understandable. But there seems to be, you know, back in the day where we didn't have these huge sponsorships by Microsoft or Red Bull, I did see tournament hosts trying stuff out. I mean, that's how we came up with Hidden Cup concept, or with Nilly's Apartment Cup concept, right? Because we're experimenting with stuff. So now we're experimenting. Whether that's good or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but keep in mind as well the type of prize pools we worked with back in the day, right? When you were going to experiment with Hidden Cup for the first time, the prize pool was what, $2,000?
Yeah, like $1,000.
You're not going to experiment now that you have $80,000, like $80,000, right?
Hey, listen, I'm trying to put this in a good light, okay? Yeah. Don't shoot the messenger.
But that's okay. Like, Red Bull can justify, right? Red Bull, they want to be different, right? They're already doing Empire Wars, right? That's the beginning of the differences. And then now, like, I mean, I can touch more on the ladder later, but you can carry on with your current segment.
Well, I was just about to present the negative side of this, which I think it's painfully obvious to everybody who knows the game and who knows how things work. I find it very puzzling how they see this working. Yeah, so it's, from my perspective, what I see here, it's incredibly easy to manipulate the ladder. You know, we can have people Alt F4ing to dodge maps. You can have people smurfing. You can have people account sharing. You can, I was afraid people could actually use the spectator dashboards to dodge certain players, though. This morning, I did see that Happy Leaves, that's the guy who runs the whole spectator dashboard thing, he does seem to have removed like the queuing status, so people won't be able to see who exactly is queuing right now. Yep. Which I think it's a step in the right direction. I know Microsoft claims they're going to implement rules to monitor suspicious activity, but I don't know. I just see too many pitfalls here, too many risks with this new system.
So, yeah, I mean, the concerns you're sharing are the majority of the concerns that I see from other people as well, right? But personally, like for me, it's like, I can't wait to just jump on stream and start queuing Empire Wars, right? Because I know I'm going to have players all the time. There probably every day there's going to be people trying to increase their elo and whatnot. And yeah, like you said, the spectator dashboard was a big concern in regards to this, because you, as you said, you can dodge people and such. My concern with this is a little bit like time zones and availability, right? Not everyone are full time, so like, and also people play at different times. So on paper, you might be a South American player. Like Caparch, for example, I never play him because we always play at different times, right? However, anyone from Europe, up and coming, let's say have a chance, Margugo, let's see if he has a chance, but I could run into him on ladder a lot, right, for example, right? And then people could argue, okay, it's a bit unlucky for him that he's playing there, and then should Margugo change his sleep schedule to like switch to another time zone to play there? Right. There's a lot of ways to manipulate it in that way. What I'm not concerned about, though, is the whole account sharing, Alt-F4ing, dodging things.
You're not?
Do you think they would have gone through with this? Like, keep in mind, they have people that have experience on board, right? It's not just Red Bull coming in, oh, we want to do it like that. They definitely have had discussions with Microsoft, with their admins that are very well experienced in Age of Empires. And they've come to the conclusion that they can do this, right? And I think with the support of Microsoft, if they would need to investigate accounts. Also, I mean, this has been laid out there and warned, right? We have seen in the past, people have been banned from tournaments of Red Bull if they do anything suspicious. So will you take the risk, considering there's only 4 spots to qualify? if you're going to be one of those 4 spots, I guarantee you they're going to find out if you did something suspicious.
No, but the thing is, if you're someone who usually would never have a chance, so why not just try something fishy? You know, it might work out.
You will be found out.
I think you're a bit more optimistic than me. So you see Microsoft like paying 10 people to monitor the ladder constantly to see who's... I mean, if people are expecting Microsoft to get something more sophisticated, like they're not going to have any AI tools, monitoring for suspicious activity. What I see happening, if I'm being optimistic here, I see someone maybe once a day checking for like topics or going through Reddit or going through the AoE forums and see if someone has been complaining. Oh, wait, let me check this account. Well, it does look a bit suspicious. I mean, if there's any fishy, any suspicious activity, and if it's only restrained to a certain very limited amount of players, I can see this working out just fine. And Age of Empires community, we pride ourselves in being a very fair community, a very mature community. So I'm hoping nothing bad is going to happen. But when you have $150,000 on the line, I just don't think you can rely on goodwill. But if this starts expanding, Oren, and a lot of people see an opportunity here, I don't think Microsoft at the moment has got the tools to deal with mass cheating and mass account sharing and stuff like that.
Yeah, but we're not going to have the case of like if anyone gets cheated against, they'll report their recording and the guy is banned. He's officially out, right? And like the people who would cheat would be names that are suddenly a surprise that they're in the top 20, top 30, right? Or like if someone unexpected is there, they will be looked into, right? I don't think our player base is big enough to the point where we would be vulnerable to this type of cheating or manipulating, because we have the admins that will definitely look into anytime there's like something suspicious, someone is way higher than they normally are, or this and that. I'm pretty sure they will be looked into, and like, of course, then if they don't find anything, then kudos to them. They've done a good job of getting there. But like if there's a guy that is today 1800 and suddenly he's like top 4 in the Empire Wars ladder at the end of the day, like let's say T90 qualifies, for example, right? Hands on deck, everyone will be looking into that. I'm not concerned about it. I don't think that's going to be one of the problems of this ladder.
Okay, wait. Do you remember that case in Age of Empires 4 where a guy, we still don't know, I don't remember his name, was it B?
It's B,
yeah. I'm worried something like that might happen, where it's like on the fence. There are a lot of signs that point to cheating. I didn't follow that particular case very detailed, very closely, because I don't follow AoE 4. But from what I understood, there were very strong signs that the guy might have cheated, but there wasn't like conclusive evidence. What if something like that happens to like 4 people and now you need to decide on a case-by-case basis? I don't know. I just see a lot of pitfalls here. But I'm glad you're optimistic. I'm very glad. So I hope I'm the doomer this time around. It's usually the other way around.
No, like okay. if the thing you said with the Spectre dashboard is correct, that they removed that you cannot see who's queuing.
Awesome first step.
You can apparently still see who is online though, which could also still be a giveaway. Of course, also like if I'm streaming or Hera is streaming or Data is streaming, like people can watch our streams and dodge us, right? But that's like, again, it is what it is. There will never be a perfect system when you try to use a ladder. I'm not concerned about the cheating thing. I'm more concerned about like time zone availability. Like it's probably going to be more up to grinding rather than being available for 2 hours a day and like playing good Age of Empires, right? You need to play a lot of games. And those that have time on their hands will definitely be favored in this type of qualification.
Absolutely. So this favors full-time streamers and full-time players a little bit more. I did see a very interesting suggestion from ACCM. He said that it should be the whole in matchmaking for this one particular ladder should be restricted to a particular time frame. So say, I don't know, it should be something that obviously includes all time zones, which then again maybe removes a little bit of the meaning, a little bit. But I think it's a good idea in principle. I don't know how that would be applied, but I do like the suggestion.
It sounds like good on paper if everyone lived at the same time, right? But he suggested from 11 GMT to 21 GMT is like the time window where it opens at 10 hours.
So that includes a couple of Americans.
Yeah, but like let's say Kaposh has work. He gets off of work at 19 GMT. is he going to only have 2 hours every day to try and like up his elo?
Works for full time.
It just doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit disappointed that we don't have just a weekend qualifier. Why not? That's what we had for Red Bull 6. You know, the community would gladly stream all the games because there would be so much hype. And one other thing I'm actually worried about, and I'm not sure how much of a role this is going to play. Because I believe the best promotion tool for a tournament are the qualifiers, especially when you have longer qualifiers. Because you're streaming the tournament, you're giving a lot of people the opportunity to come to know the game, to come to know the tournament, and that's, in my opinion, the best promotion that you have for a tournament. And so if you start early with streaming qualifiers and stuff like that, you're going to have a lot of time to actually promote the main event. This is something that Tristan does with Hidden Cup 5. And something that Memb is doing now with Warlords 3, which I think is a very good idea. I like the system a lot, and I hope it really works out for him. All of this is going to go away, right? We do have a qualifier, again, important to note, in August, I believe.
The last chance.
The last chance, right? August 10th to 18th, if I'm not mistaken. But that's yet another thing that I believe could hurt. I hope it doesn't, but could hurt viewership a tiny little bit.
Yes, we do lose the structured qualifier format beforehand, but we do gain another qualifier format that will gain attention, right? How many people are going to check the Empire Wars ladder, especially towards the last week, right? Every day there's going to be people checking the ladder. Every day. There's going to be casters wanting to cover the run-in, right? That's essentially covering a qualifier at that point. Players will want to cover it. Players will want to watch it. There's going to be a lot of attention on the ladder for a change in a very positive way, in my opinion. Of course, it's not it's not the same structured stream. We're going to have streams 5 days here and there. There's going to be qualifiers there. The deciders are on that day. But the question is, are those qualifiers that crucial for the success of the main event in the end?
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
This is how Tristan, again, that's how he structures his Hidden Cup. And I think it works perfectly. I see something like this very commonly used in other games as well, like CSGO Majors. They have massive qualification stages before the main event. I'm interested to see. I think it's going to be a really nice test with Warlords 3 to see if this actually works the way we're hoping it does.
Well,
okay, so
I just want to quickly, I in general, I understand. If it works, don't break it, right? Or don't change it, right? But I also like that we're having a little bit of differences, right? It's the same
innovation. I don't mind.
Exactly, formats and maps and all. It's going to be 11 new maps, by the way, for the Red Bull tournament. 11 new maps, not a single map that we have seen or played before, which is, and they're all going to be thrown into the ladder at the same time, right? And everyone's going to start queuing. That's going to be so fun to explore the maps. Okay. These types of initiatives also, for me, brings another breath of fresh air into the game itself, right? It's not just, okay, we're going to play the 7 maps, these 7 maps we know from before. There's a whole different aspect to this, in quotes, qualifier. And I personally think it's really exciting.
Okay, sure. Let's see how it plays out. A very good point with the map pool. I think it has been released today for the first time, if I'm not mistaken. I believe. Well, I mean, we just talked about it.
I don't know. I hope so. Then I'm going to stream after this.
How do you know it's 11 maps if you haven't checked it? But I don't know how many maps it is.
That's what it said in the Discord.
Oh, all right. That's what it said. Okay. Yeah, they're available on Liquipedia. There's a lot of maps that we don't know about. I don't think we've seen before. Were pros consulted for this, or who exactly designed these maps?
Well, design, I would imagine, is Krajini, right?
Krajini, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a grain of salt. But no, I mean, I can't speak for anyone else, but I have not been consulting with them in any way.
Okay, cool. So I think a very interesting storyline here for this tournament, Viper, is going to be Hera. Interestingly enough, Hera is the only GamerLegion member that did not win a Red Bull tournament.
Where is Doubt? Doubt should be on this podcast to this part.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine, but that's a fact. Ever since Neely and Jordan left the roster, it's only Hera, the one that's still left. Yeah. So would you say he's still the favorite, considering, his development in the last couple of months and how he's been dominating the random map scene? Would you still say he's the favorite, or do you feel like Empire Wars is such a different game mode that's still up in the air?
It's definitely a different game mode to the point where it's he's not going to be as clearly favored as he is in a random map right now. But I still think you cannot say anything else. He's going to be the favorite going into this if he qualifies. No,
Man, I just imagine whenever Hera is playing and whenever he's grinding the ladder, nobody's gonna be wanting to play the ladder. I already saw a very funny clip with Kapach. Of course, you will. You don't care. Of course, you guys are at the same level. But people who are really desperately trying to qualify, I did see a very nice clip with Kapach today in the morning. He was apparently really just so mad because he was playing against Hera and Hera was beating him. He's like, why does this guy have to qualify?
Okay.
And a lot of Spanish and a lot of not so nice words from what I could tell. But yeah, I agree with you. And I think in the case of Hera, I think what makes him a favorite in my eyes, I don't know if you agree with this, is something that he has said himself when we worked together for the NAC 5 podcast. I think it was episode 9, if folks want to go back and listen to it. He said, and I think you agreed with him, that right now, there's just a very big discrepancy between the hours that he puts in and between the hours that everybody else puts in. And I know how much he tryhards and all of that. And I believe more than anything else, that's what currently makes him the strongest player. That he just seems to be practicing a lot more than everybody else. And despite it doesn't really matter how different Empire Wars is, I feel like this time investment that he keeps putting is going to make up for all the differences or for all the things that he might still need to improve in this particular game mode.
Yeah, I mean, when you have his combination of skill right now with the time investment, it's obviously something that if you want to compete with that, you have to match or overcome it in other ways, right? Again, this is also a situation where I can only speak for myself, right? Mm-hmm. With the baby on the way, I'm not sure if I can justify the same hour investment. But
obviously, there's no critique of you, just to make it clear.
I get that, yeah. But then again, Doubt has been able to put in hours the last 10 years, so... we'll see. No, but yeah, you're right. That is one of the reasons why he is so favored, right? Because he's putting in the work, he's putting in the effort, and it's being rewarded. It's up to everyone else to try and match that and respond.
Mm-hmm. Do you see one of the new civs? Is there anything unique about the new civs that will make them better or worse for the Empire mod? Yeah, like Georgians and what was the other Armenians? Is there something unique about these civs that would make them better or worse for Empire Wars, you reckon?
Like him specifically or the civs for Empire Wars?
No, the civs. Is there something about these civs that make them better or worse for Empire Wars? Just wondering.
I mean, my first thought is jumping to the Georgians now with their scout regenerating in feudal age. Like you're essentially going to start with a massive advantage in that regard. But then again, you have that in RM as well, so it's not like that big of a deal. Yeah, Georgians, unless they get nerfed in some way, will probably be maybe the top pick for the game mode even. The flexibility of the mule cart. Like you're probably going to spawn with a mule cart on the gold, and you can adapt that one to whatever. So you get a lot of flexibility in that regard too. I mean, Armenians probably will be decent as well, but their tech tree is a bit more lackluster. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to find out.
Well, that's a good thing. We're about to find out. Okay, so something else I still want to bring up. I do recognize this feels a little bit like, old man yelling at cloud vibes, but I still find it a little bit of a shame. I just want to say this, that, the tournament with the biggest outreach that we have in the scene and that has the most potential to, get new people interested in the game features a version of the game that no one plays. I mean, I know people are going to be playing it a lot now, but throughout the whole year, nobody plays it.
Red Bull gives you wings, man. It has to be sped up.
I do understand, I fully understand this need of trying to make Age of Empires 2 faster paced. I understand it from a broadcast perspective. On the other hand, I'm always scared that if you try to, artificially speed up Age of Empires 2, you end up like with a cheap imitation of StarCraft. So it's not going to look like Age of Empires anymore. It's not going to look like StarCraft. You're going to have like a thing in the middle.
Stormgear.
Go on. That's not what I had in mind, but a good shout. I don't know. I feel like if they really wanted to reduce like the length of the games, I would have gone, I don't know, with a best of 5 instead of a best of 7, for example. Reduce the series. And, in the day of the final, if you want to have like, if you want to maximize for broadcast time, just have a pre-show. Just have a quiz. Wink, wink. Or have, I don't know, like a panel of analysts, something like that. I don't know. I find it, I understand it. I just wish, if we're going to broadcast this tournament to so many people, I just wish we were showcasing the best version of the game.
I think it's just too late for them to switch now, right? I mean,
absolutely.
At most, they could lower it to less villagers and maybe start towards the end of Dark Age. Mm-hmm. But still, like Dark Age, I think Dark Age should not be messed with further than extra villagers start, right? You don't want to start with like predetermined lumber camps, mill houses, whatever in Dark Age, because in Dark Age you want to use to build up your base and set you up for the next stage, right? In Empire Wars you're already thrown into the next stage, so it's not as crucial. But yeah, I do understand what you mean, that you would like it to be seen the way Age of Empires is normally played. But again, this is like, I like it because it's different. Every tournament we have already now is like, it's not the same because we have the difference of 3 villager and 9 villager start. But that's where like I like the 9 villager start a lot. That's probably my favorite game mode. 3 villagers feel a bit slow to me. Empire Wars, I like it because it's just a change of pace and it's short term, right? I don't think I would like Empire Wars if it was like, oh, this is now our game mode forever, because then you lose out on the whole Dark Age. But since Red Bull is, well, at this point, maximum once a year, it seems. Maybe max every 2 years, because I think the last one was 22, as you said?
Yeah, we skipped last year, yeah.
Yeah. Then it's like, why not just have this breath of fresh air, this difference that we don't see every day? And I mean, it's been great successes so far. So, I mean, why wouldn't it continue to be?
Mm. Could it be a bigger success if we just have the
we'll never know
there? We'll never know. We'll never know. And you did brought up something earlier on in the podcast, which I think is absolutely true and absolutely correct, which this is a marketing thing that Red Bull does all the time. You know, they want to be unique. They want to be hosting very unique stuff, you know. And when I was talking about Age of Empires having higher viewership than stuff like Counter-Strike and Valorant, it's not necessarily because we have a bigger viewership. Of course, we don't. It's mostly because when Red Bull hosts tournaments for these games, they usually go for very weird settings. I believe in Counter-Strike, most of their tournaments are 2v2, for example, while the regular standard game is 5v5. So they always go for very weird settings that don't really excite a whole lot of people. So it's an interesting point to make. Okay, so I also wanted to bring this up very quickly because, you know, there were a lot of indications that Age of Empires 4 was not going to be included. And, you know, a lot of the people, I do read the Age of Empires 4 subreddit quite a lot. And, you know, a lot of people were questioning, why is this happening? I mean, we have apparently the most successful DLC in the history of the franchise, The Sultan's Ascent. And so why are we not getting anything from Red Bull? Now, to be clear, they are getting something. It's a little bit, again, lower scale, smaller scale. They only have $50,000, which is a huge decrease if you consider it. Okay, yes, only. Very big quotation marks. But again, think about Red Bull Legacy was $300,000 for them.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a fall from grace. I know, I better than zero, for sure. Now, what I want to say here is that Microsoft obviously cares about the success of a DLC. You know, they're invested in the success of the game. I'm not sure Red Bull cares about the game per se. I think Red Bull, they wanna have audience, they want to maximize for viewership, they want to maximize for their investment. And the cold hard truth is that Age of Empires 2 currently has basically doubled the viewership than Age of Empires 4 does. And I think that's what matters at the end of the day. You know, they want to maximize for hours watched, for viewership and all that stuff, right?
Which is completely understandable, right? When you're putting in a massive investment, you want to get some return on investment. Yes. And in this case, that is viewership, reach, advertisement for Red Bull brand and so forth. It's obviously disappointing for the AoE 4 fans how little it's involved, because it's essentially an online tournament and just one grand final on the castle, where, by the way, Marine Lord is already in the final. Which I think it does make sense. He's the reigning champion, and he is the biggest name in AoE 4 probably, alongside Beastie Cutie. But like, if there's only gonna I understand if there's a main event at the castle that you can invite the reigning champion, like we have in Age of Empires with Tato. But I feel like to invite the player straight to the final is a bit like, okay. I understand. They're also taking 20% of the prize pool alone from being invited at minimum, right? So I understand why the competitors are a bit upset about that.
Easy monies.
Yeah, and it's also like now, okay, one guy is going to qualify. Now there is prize pool in the qualifiers way before as well, but like only one guy will get to the final. So how many people will think that they have the chance to get to the final and train really hard to get there, right? Because it's not 2 spots, it's not 4 spots, it's not 8 spots, it's 1 spot. It's a bit harder to justify the time investment then. But yeah, like I said, in the end, on the prize pool thing, like we have reached a point now where we're looking at 5-digit prize pool tournament money, and we're just fair, and small. Like the escalation we had in prize pool during COVID and such, has just, people are just like, their minds need to be reset. That was not normal. That was not normal.
Absolutely.
Even what we have right now, this is also like high. This is $150,000 for Age of Empires 2, $50,000 for Age of Empires 4. These are crazy numbers. People cannot forget that. And we should be really happy about that. But again, I understand the concerns the AoE4 people have. Also, it's going to be on Empire Wars and AoE4 as well. Which
They
apparently
hate it.
the game mode is not the game is not well balanced for Empire Wars, I think. So we'll see if they change anything there. But
yeah, for sure not. Yeah, I was reading the comments. People hate Empire Wars, apparently. There's a lot of people unhappy about Age of Empires 2 being Empire Wars, but I think at this point, people tolerate it, right? So I'm not just not going to tune into the tournament because it's Empire Wars. Of course I'm going to tune in. I still love it. It's still Age of Empires 2. But apparently in Age of Empires 4 is very badly balanced, as you just said.
I think it changes a lot more than it changes in AoE 2.
Okay.
By starting with Empire Wars, like in Feudal Age with a setup base.
Like
AoE4 as well, like you have certain civs that really want to position your buildings, economy buildings, and your chapel, or like not chapel, your age up building in a very specific location, right? I'm not sure how the Empire Wars mode is if you start in the Feudal Age. Actually, I should probably check that. Maybe you start in the end of Dark Age and you can build like your advancing building, which makes it easier, but if that's the case. But yeah, if you start in Feudal Age, I can see why that has a big problem with Age of Empires 4 game mode.
All right, so before we quickly move on, I just want to share my research here regarding the viewership, because I don't want the people to call me out on this. So in the last 90 days, and I've checked for 180 days, 365 days, the numbers are similar. In the last 90 days, the average viewership for Age of Empires 2 has been 3,000 viewers, which it's only fair to say we had massive tournaments, of course. We had Hidden Cup 5, we have an NAC. So 3,000 for Age of Empires 2. For Age of Empires 4, in the last 90 days, it's 1,200. So it's just this very big discrepancy. I think it's also fair to say that apparently, I haven't looked up at this very closely, but I did read this many times, that the number of competitive players is kind of similar between Age of Empires 4 and Age of Empires 2. We might have slightly more. I think the big difference here is the single player crowd. We just have so much more content in terms of single player, right? And that's where, the vast majority of the player base is in Age of Empires 2.
I mean, you also see the peak viewership on the bigger tournaments, right? The S tier events in AoE4, the peak viewership gets solid numbers, but it's still nothing compared to AoE2.
Okay, Viper, so let's sort of speed run here the whole Age of Noob controversy. So first of all, I want to talk about, I just want to speed run it first because we're running out of time, and second, because it's going to be releasing a video on of his own explaining everything, so I don't see that big of a point of us trying to speculate a lot. Okay, so first of all, who's Age of Noob? I would call him a very high quality YouTuber, and he used to be focused on a lot of the games in the franchise ever since AoE 4 came out. I'll say he's focused mainly on Age of Empires 4. And he's one of those guys, that I don't really understand why his channel didn't grow bigger. It's such high quality content. The visuals are gorgeous. Audio is perfect. Content, very aimed to beginners as well.
He's been I think a great description of him he's been kind of like Spirit of the Law for AoE4.
A4, absolutely correct. I'll say even in terms of the appearance of how he presents stuff, maybe even higher quality in terms of the visuals and all of that. Spirit of the Law is very, very niche, and he's excellent at this sort of mathematical things, and he goes deeper than Age of Noob goes, I feel like. In any case, Age of Noob was banned from the partner program. I didn't even know there was something, a partner program. I mean, I could imagine that something like this exists, of course. And now, you're a part of the program, so why don't you explain to folks what that is exactly?
Oh, putting me on the spot. What is the partner program?
I mean, what do you guys...
I know I'm in there somewhere, but what we do particularly, I'm not sure. No, I think it's just like you get presented opportunities to like, let's say there's a DLC or a new civ coming, right? You're giving access early to like prepare content for the release. So essentially you get early access and to things that are behind the closed doors, and you can prepare things ahead of time or give feedback on things and just a little bit of extra inside information before things come out, essentially.
All right. So all of this drama is connected to the release of Age of Empires Mobile, which hasn't been released yet. I don't think we even have a date just yet. So what happened is the following. He released a video a couple of months ago, which wasn't really a review. It was more like a first look at the game, So he was just talking about what he's seeing. Because I believe at that point, nobody had actually access to the game. Now, a few weeks ago, or is it last week even? I'm not sure. He does release a second video that is a lot more negative towards the game. And, he was also sort of exposing the lack of payment from Timmy Studios.
So I want to clarify something there. Like, I don't think the negativity in that video was much towards the game itself, but rather towards the company.
Both. There was also, he also did criticize the monetization system, which, it's sort of well known, but yeah. So he did expose the lack of payment from Timmy Studios, which would be the studio responsible for the development of Age of Empires Mobile. Again, there's no point in speculating here. Who's right, was wrong. We have his version of the event. We don't have the other version. At some point, that's all going to come out. What's true is that he got banned from this partner program after releasing this second video. And I know a lot of folks immediately got the impression that he was banned because of negative criticism towards the game. Now, as soon as these events transpired, our good friend Will McHale, he's the business lead for Age of Empires, he did release a post on Reddit that I'm going to be quoting just to make sure I don't say anything wrong here. I can spring this. Okay, so while content creators will always be allowed to share their thoughts on Age of Empires games openly and candidly, we do have two expectations of our creators. First, uphold NDAs when given confidential access to programs and information, and two, abide by the code of conduct and Xbox community standards. Now, code of conduct, I would assume it's something like don't engage in hate speech, don't engage in discrimination against minorities. So if I had to guess, this has got something to do with an NDA, which again, there's no big point of trying to speculate what exactly it is. That's going to come out at some point. But what seems clear to me here, Orion, is that this banning did not take place because of a negative criticism of the game.
I mean, I talked a lot of shit about Age of Empires Mobile in my recent play. Like, I played the game a little bit, and I also released a video on it, and I said a lot of negative things about the game, and I haven't heard anything about being banned. So, yeah, I don't think criticism of the game itself.
Did you check your email today?
I have not checked my email or tried to log in recently, but no, like I said, like I if you want to give a quick rundown on the game as well, the game is to me extremely predatory. It's all designed to try and drag some money out of your wallet. Now, you can play it free to play, and I think there are some fun game mechanics in the game, but it's just all so directed towards making you spend money. It's just so predatory, and that's why I simply cannot justify talking positively about it either, because that's exactly where I hate that gaming has gone, right, to that direction. And they're just, it's a bit sad for me that Age of Empires is getting associated with this type of thing, because Age of Empires has in my eyes always been like a little bit like it's like we do the right thing here, and it's like Age of Empires is like an classic game.
An oasis in the world of esports or in the gaming industry.
But let's be real, the game is probably going to make more money than all Age of Empires titles combined. So I mean, like, you cannot blame them. But yeah,
my sources tell me they already have, before the game has even been released, they already have 1 million registrations.
Yeah, that's the pre-registrations, right? For people to like get into the game. Yeah.
Before the game is even released, and before people get to see a lot of the game, which is pretty crazy. And as it just told, it's gonna sell I'm pretty sure it's gonna sell more copies than any of the other games.
Well, it doesn't sell copies, but a lot of small microtransactions.
Absolutely fair. There are it doesn't cost. They're free to play.
Yeah,
they're free to play.
Like, in terms of gameplay aspects, it doesn't feel like Age of Empires at all. It has some like Age of Empires aspects in terms of like heroes that you know from the game, civilizations you know from the game, economy management that is similar to the game, like because you have food and gold, wood, etc. But in terms of playing the game, it's obviously not Age of Empires in any way. It's more of a similarities to like the other I almost want to say cash grabs, the other like heavily microtransaction geared games on the mobile market.
Right. And another thing I wanted to say is that, of course, we in the PC, the folks like us, we're sort of in the PC gaming market. We often don't realize how big the mobile market is, right?
Yeah.
So you have like these three different sectors of the gaming industry. I'll say you have like mobile games, you have console games, and PC games. Mobile is by far the highest, the biggest part of the pie, and PC is by far the smallest. So it's just the reality of the situation.
The only way that ever changes is if countries and states go in and make rules for how much you can have microtransactions. This, right? Otherwise, it's like there's only good incentives for companies to make mobile games like that, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. All right, very quickly, I want to mention World Rumble 2. Dark takes it home. Dark takes it. I was pretty close, so I had said that Hart was going to win the whole thing. He went to the final and then lost it 5-1 against Dark. I didn't know a whole lot about Dark. I now know he's a 19-year-old guy. He's a professional dancer. So it's a funny combination, you know. Someone who enjoys professional dancing is also interested in Age of Empires. Though I can't say much myself. I'm a professional pianist and I play Age of Empires too. He's a really handsome guy. He's got a nice interview with Memb for those of you who might be interested. And he had a pretty rough path, you know, through the whole tournament. He lost early on to Mihai. Yeah. Then in the semifinal, so it's a double elimination tournament, so he still made it to the finals. In the semifinal, he was behind 3-0 against freaking Nandy in the best of 7, and then came back to win 4-3. And then in the final, 5-1. So have you played him a couple of times? What do you make of him as a player?
I have clapped him a lot on the ladder, but no, like when I was streaming that day, and I was gonna head offline, and I was looking at checking like the scores in between. I looked, it was 3-1 for freaking Andy or 3-0 for freaking Andy. So okay, so it's gonna be Andy Hart possibly in the finals. Like I predicted Andy to win the tournament, right? And then I
think you predicted Daniel.
I didn't Sunday. Sunday I wasn't able to be online much, but I checked the results on Monday, and I was like so shocked to see that that Dark was in the final first of all, and that he won 5-1 against Hart. Hart is obviously delivering at a super high level. He's playing it. He was at NEC as well, right? And Dark to just go in there and it's a very dominating result, right? 5-1.
Absolutely.
I haven't seen the games, so I cannot speak too much about that. But it's really showing that we still have some of these guys that are really ready to put up a fight.
It's really great to see, and we only hope great things from him. And maybe, who knows, he makes it to Red Bull.
I'm going to probably play him a lot on the Empire Wars later.
I'm sure he will. Okay, folks, we're going to prepare everything for the call with Memb. Stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, folks, we're back, and we're now joined by Memb. He's one of the biggest and most popular casters in our scene, someone who's been active in the community for over a decade now, and he's about to host yet another big S-tier tournament, Warlords 3, the qualifiers of which have already started, and they just started this week, and you definitely should check them out. Memb, thank you so much for taking the time to be here, and welcome to the Town Center.
Well, I'm very happy to be here with the legendary Mr. Viper, with you too, Nelson, but with the Viper.
You're there as well,
Thank you for that inclusion. Thank you. I was so scared you were not going to say it.
Nelson, you forgot to mention top Rage Forest player as well in the intro.
One of the pioneers of the Rage Forest community. Let's say it as it is. Very true.
Yeah, because I'm being also coached a little bit by Hera. I know.
Why?
No, that's I don't know. I Rage Forest. I keep Rage Forest, you know.
Yeah, not in Rage Forest, but he's coaching you in other maps.
In other maps, yes. And I lost $100. I lost $100 with his coach, so you know.
Makes sense.
Rage Forest was a good introduction. Yeah.
Anyway, man, we have been before you came on. Now we have been talking a bit about Red Bull. Red Bull was announced yesterday. Yeah. What are your first thoughts and impressions on Red Bull Wololo El Reinado? It's in your country, eh?
Oh, I have. That. I have a bit of mixed feelings. I'm going to be 100% honest, as you know me, Mr. Viper. 90% of the things I love it. One of the things that I love is that I can go by a car because it's very close to my city. You know, so that's for the first time ever. I don't have problems to go to.
Whoa. Is this official confirmation we're going to have Memb as a caster? I mean, it's not like it was a huge surprise, but...
Well, it's not confirmed, but I hope. I hope to go, but probably if I'm not invited, being that close, probably I will go anyway. So,
like, if I don't qualify, I will go, right? So it's like, well, actually, maybe not, but it's like it's one of those events where it's like, even if you don't are invited or playing or qualify, you still want to go,
Viper,
no matter like what.
I don't want to scare you. By that time, you'll have a baby. You won't be able to decide alone anymore. You need to ask your wife, my friend. Start getting used to it. You need to ask your wife about all these things. Sorry, go ahead, Memb. 90% of the stuff you like it.
Mm-hmm. I have to. Yes, I have 2 kids, Viper. Don't worry. You will be. You will manage. You will manage. I mean, $150,000 is Empire Wars, which is not a surprise, right? Is expected. 8 players going to be there. You know that a LAN event, you will probably want to have as much as possible, but how hard is to organize a LAN event already? So, so I think 8 is just fine. Probably the more controversial is that 4 eats through the ladder. That was it doesn't convince me at all, because we know how the ladder works, and when Viper is sleeping, when Hera is sleeping, everyone is playing, stuff like this, and how do you control these kind of things? Or I don't know. I believe that they will implement the stuff to control that you dodge a specific map or a specific player. But even like that, I don't know. I mean, it's something that never have been tried before in our community, right? But I don't know your opinion on what you said before, but that's the only point that for me is a little bit, like I like to say, cuckoo.
Yeah, we're still going to have enough time to discuss all of these things. It's still a long time till Red Bull's coming. So we actually wanted to focus on Warlords 3 here, Memb. So I guess the first question that I'd have for you is a question that I believe a lot of people have asked themselves. Why did you decide to go for another Warlords tournament so close to the last edition, which was November last year? And you know that a lot of people were either expecting it to be a King of the Desert or perhaps even a Battle of Africa. So why did you decide to go for another Warlords?
This is not an answer that is a short one. There is
take your time.
There's a little bit of a lot of things to consider. The first of all is that it's crazy that we're talking like this. Like, okay, man, you can host whatever you want. Like, is Microsoft going to give you the money? Because we have to consider about this, right? Like, Microsoft give budget to Age of Empires, right? And me as a host being able to get, well, in a fiscal year now already 100K is something that I could never imagine. You remember those times on Publi. So, and now we are like, okay, man, why you don't do this tournament? Why you don't do the other one? When you try to host a tournament, you try to make what you think is going to be the best tournament possible with the budget you have, and with the current scene. For example, I considered to host Battle of Africa, but since AM has disbanded and now Hera is in GL, I'm not going to be honest, as a host, I don't feel that anyone right now can beat GL Viper. Like,
we still have doubts,
in my opinion. Yeah, but they still can be benched.
Oh, in theory, yeah, okay, never mind.
Because
my bad.
We have to remember people that doesn't know, I love to host tournaments 1v1, 3v3. Except Race Forest, I love it more, the 3v3 format, and then the 1v1. I'm not a super fan. I mean, if there can be a great tournament with 2v2, like for example, the cartographers. Yes, I casted. Yeah, relax. I remember. I casted. It can be great, but I prefer, it's just personal preference, 1v1, 3v3, and with 3v3, even with doubt, we love you. It sounds really scary.
Bench, so it's like, I understand.
No, but throws aside. So I didn't feel motivated to host Battle of Africa in this scenario. Then King of the Desert, right now, well, that's maybe not super important, but for me, the prize pool that I got in the last two editions was a lot higher than 50K, for example. And if I make another King of the Desert, that now I want to say that I'm not leaving that tournament. I plan to keep it hosting King of the Desert, but I would love to do it in the future with the biggest prize pool that I have done ever as a MTV event. And then
maybe even LAN,
if it's possible. That, I mean, maybe we're going too far, but this is one of the dreams that for me, to host a LAN event, but it's very difficult, And one of the reasons that is very difficult is that if I want to host in my city, the connections is very important. It's a great place to be, but the connections here is bad, So then what is left? Microsoft is still giving me 50K, or if I abandon, where are going that 50K? Maybe it's going to someone else, but I don't know how Microsoft work. Maybe I don't host a tournament because, not gonna lie, I wasn't super motivated. I was a little bit burnt out. Yes, I can be burnt out by you don't believe, And then it was more Krasini and Rorimbo who motivated me to, man, let's do it. It will be great, and you will recover the motivation. And then Warlords, I think Warlords settings right now for me are the one that I like the most, even more than King of the Desert, for example. I think it's more complete, a lot of maps, a lot of more possibilities. And then I'm gonna say something that maybe you're not gonna like this, Piper, but I'm gonna say right now, and you as a player, you're gonna give me probably the best opinion about that. Right now, I really believe that Arabia, it's really kind of snowball. If you don't have your good day, even if you are prepared, you can be eliminated. Not you, anyone, can be eliminated in a bad day by anyone in that map.
Me as well.
You too, yes, but everyone, right? What I mean is, Arabia is more about skills, meta. What the strategies you can prepare in Arabia is so difficult, right? Like
Zero.
It's zero. But don't know what you think about that. So I was thinking, I think Warlords is more based on strategies. I mean, the skills count, of course, but there's a lot more strategies to implement there. So I think the Warlords, it was the right decision for this time.
Mm-hmm. I also think Warlords is your best tournament at the moment with settings and such. I mean, like the categories thing you implemented for the first Warlords, it was like, in my opinion, one of the best introductions we've had to 1v1 tournaments in a long time, right? Because it also gives strategy and preparation in the draft for players, right? You try to pick a map from one category, so the opponent doesn't get to pick another map from that category and so forth, right? So that for me was a really good introduction to the tournaments. And King of the Desert it's a classic, right? But we've had 5 editions now?
Yeah, we can wait.
We can wait a little bit. And it's also in quotes only Arabia. Warlords, always different maps, fun different variation in settings with so many more civs played as well, right? So
yeah,
I think Warlords is the right tournament to host. In my opinion. If you have to choose one, right?
The 9 villages, I really like it. There's a moment I don't know if it's because 10 years. I mean, I've been playing this game forever and casting already for close to 11 years. Honestly, the Dark Age for me, Viper has become too oh my god. I mean, so
not that fun for players either.
Imagine the players, also the viewers. And yesterday I was casting a little bit. In 3 minutes people is up.
Yeah.
In 3 minutes people is up, and then the gameplay is the same. And so it doesn't change for me too much when you are watching. So I prefer right now Warlords, really.
I still want to question you about something, Memb. So you say that there's no competition in a team game tournament these days because GL is so dominant. And I hear a lot of people saying this, but I wonder, do you think there's more competition in a 1v1 tournament when you consider the form that Hera is in right now?
I really do.
How? Hera just completely wins finals 5-0, 5-2.
Well, people, I have an advantage, if we can call it like this, with people that has not been around forever. Hera, it's giving to the opponents what Viper was giving back in the days. People is afraid of playing him, but he's doing mistakes more than people think and believe. And I watch every single game. I've been watching every single game for years. Viper back in the days when let's say that people respected you more than they probably should, and that's a compliment.
What?
Viper?
Wait, more than they should? No, that's not a compliment.
Yeah. Well, you got it. No, but you know what I mean, Viper. You were at that moment oh man, I'm gonna play the Viper, he's gonna kill me. That was the feeling, So, and it's what I'm talking at a lot in the game is mental as well. Mentally, you see that, for example, that's one advantage that we have to say, for example, over Hidden Cup. I'm sure the problems Hera got in some of the series because at some point in Hidden Cup, I'm sure that the players know who they are facing. But there is some stages they don't know. And in that stages that they didn't know, I'm sure that ACCM did a lot more problems because I think it was the one who created more problems to him, that it was knowing that it was his opponent. And this is what is happening right now. Other day, there was few games in that Super Draft series between Hera and Tatot that Tatot could have won the game. I know because I'm with Capturage. I have all the numbers, I have all the facts. And then he didn't take the decision. He was conservative against Hera because it's Hera. Probably if he was playing against other player, he would beat him in the same situation. I think he was Hera. He lost that game in Bedouins, for example. I remember the game perfectly fine. He was in a position that if he commit with the lances he got, he will destroy him. But he never committed.
Yeah, but you also make different decisions based on the skill of the opponent, right? So he may have thought that Hera has the capabilities to defend it, and
exactly.
You can, as a caster, you can say that if he goes in there, maybe he wins. But as a player, you're not sure because you know that a player like Hera can possibly defend that. So but that's not about over respecting or this. It's just
the actual situation of Hera's skills. So he earned this respect or over respect. He earned it because he's playing so great. Yeah. That is what I mean, that he's still doing mistakes is what I mean.
Yeah, there is a chance that there's a suggestion there maybe that people need to take more risks in their approach against him to either win or lose here, right? Might as well. Just either you have a chance to win or I'm going to lose anyway, potentially, right? So take the chances, essentially.
The thing is, what I have noticed, and this is because of what you asked about the 1v1 competition, is that people against Hera, if you play meta against him, you die. Right now, in general. If you play, you have a lot more chances to die. But the way I know that he defends really well under the pressure, yes. But when you make some chaotic games against him, he has more problems. Even if he's probably the best defending in those situations. But if you don't attack him, then he's not dying. Is what I have
Makes
seen.
Sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, because in the late game, he control. Right now, he's controlling the whole thing, the micro, probably the best.
Mm-hmm. All right, something very special about Warlords 3, or at least comparing it to the previous tournaments they were organized, is that the main event's going to be a 1 week, and it's going to be a single elimination, right? And what I love this, by the way. I think this is great. And what I like about it...
I know you do.
Yeah, and what I love about it is that you're making the qualification stage much bigger. You're giving a lot of attention to the qualification players, and then you're making the main event really cutthroat, really hyped. What made you make this change? Because I think it's the first time you're doing this.
Yeah. First, one of the reasons is something personal. Since I was burned out, I was like, I cannot do myself a tournament with group stage for myself, It's too much. But then thinking about the players and talking with some of the players, the group stages give more possibilities to go through, maybe, but it also gives a lot less possibilities to get any upset. In group stage, at the end, people who, let's say, is favored to qualify, 95% is going to go through. With single elimination, if you really want to have some upset, it can happen. I think for the viewers, it's definitely better to have a combat event like this, because also they know that if you miss a day, you are missing someone that is going to be eliminated. You have to be there. For the players, and then Viper can tell me as well, I think a qualifier that you have to play 3-4 series on a Saturday, for example, in a row, basically, and then prepare a decider for the Sunday, what preparation you got to get there? You're exhausted. You cannot really prepare.
I have no idea. I never get to play qualifiers anymore. I haven't played qualifiers for years, man. I'm invited to your tournaments.
No.
What can I do?
Not truth.
Is it not? Oh, King of the Desert, true. I almost lost to say my name, but
yeah.
No, you make a good point. I do agree with you.
Yeah, go on.
That the preparation is, but then again, I mean, like in general for these maps and such, you prepare more. Just prepare yourself. You don't prepare like, oh, this matchup or this strategy or this and that specifically for one player more often than not. You prepare yourself for the whole thing, and then you adapt small changes based on your opponent. So I think the preparation is still from let's say the start of the qualifiers to the end is still done before the qualifier itself, if that makes sense. So
yeah,
but I do understand what you mean as well.
But still also you want to have as much time as possible. I remember talking with Sebastian. He told me, man, this is 21 maps. And at least you need to prepare probably at least 2 maps per category.
You should have a general idea of how you want to play every map, right?
But you know what I mean. Like if you want to have a specific strategy, I don't know. I thought that giving more time for the qualifier, for the preparation will be better for the main event and for the players.
I mean, I agree. It's definitely better for the players to have more time. There's no question about it.
Yeah. And then, not gonna lie, I checked it, for example, there was something similar in Hidden Cup 5, the qualifiers, I believe, and so on.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a good idea. So if something is good, why not to do something similar?
Yes, I 100% agree. And what I think is great about this, Memb, is that the qualifiers, I said this in the first part of the podcast, the qualifiers are the perfect promotion tool for the main event. If you're streaming the qualifiers, you're giving a lot of people a lot of high-level games, and you're getting people hyped for the main event. And I think that's a great idea. I'm hoping it's really going to work out for you. By the way, I saw that Warlords 2 had a 42,000 viewer record peak, which is amazing. I think the numbers were released recently, and I think you tweeted about it. I saw it somewhere. So I'm really hoping you beat those numbers. I'm pretty confident you're going to beat those numbers. I'm very hopeful. What is your viewership goal, by the way?
I never think about this.
Okay.
Seriously, it's true that I'm confident usually when I'm hosting these events that they are going to, because it's true that I think this is going to be my 12 or 13 S-tier event hosted, which is crazy, And every tournament has got more viewers than the previous one, till now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hope that continues.
Except because of the pandemic, King of the Desert 4 probably was the highest. But I think the pandemic is kind of unrealistic numbers in general because everyone is at home. So
Yeah, but I think also King of the Desert 5, if the final was a bit longer, maybe viewership could also. It could
those
be.
Thank you for telling
those finalists.
No, but honestly, that's crucial for peak viewership. Yeah. For that reason, I think even Microsoft or myself, I prefer to look on the average viewership than the peak, because the average is what is really bringing that to the real viewers and how the tournament has been performed.
And watch hours.
Yeah, the watch hours as well, and usually it's a lot. The peak is. Well, the final is the most important. If it's a close final, you remember, for example, King of the Desert 1. Obviously, Tweet wasn't like now, a 5-4. Yeah. I mean, imagine that 5-4 series with Viper and Leary, I remember. Imagine now.
Yeah.
It's explode, So a close series is the most important
for
any tournament.
Yeah. Nelson has brought up a few times, because in general, we have had the cast, like you, T9, Nilly, have gotten the money from Microsoft, to host multiple tournaments. Nelson has brought up sometimes, what if you take all the money you get from Microsoft and put it all into one big tournament rather than spreading it out on Warlords, King of the Desert, BOA? Mm-hmm. Did you ever consider just asking Microsoft, hey, can I spend everything on one single tournament and you get a mega hype?
Nelson, just one little caveat there, Memb. The reason I ask this, because before you were making two different tournaments. You were making King of the Desert and Warlords, or King of the Desert and Battle of Africa. But now if you're going to make Warlords, would it be worth it for you to make a $100,000 Warlords? And I don't know, maybe you can even, with the extra funds, you can even invite 4 players for a LAN event or something at your house. I don't know. I'm just dreaming,
Yeah, I have dreamed about too, yeah. Very well. Well, to point out, Microsoft never tell me what to do with the money.
Okay.
So I can select myself what I want to do with that money. So I could have done that already if I wanted. But I really believe that for me, maybe it's better. But I think that for the community, it's better to have more tournaments. And that's why I have been doing more tournaments instead of one big with 100K, what you said, Still, the LAN event is something that is not enough with that money.
Right.
It's really not enough. You need, the prize pool in live events is the least cost.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and since it's not possible, I think these tournaments are good enough for me. Not gonna lie, because when you host an event, you have to get some profit, because if not, if you're gonna lose, well, I love what I do, I love the hype, but if you lose, okay, someone else hosts and I cast, then it's easier for me, But well, that's it for now. I would love to be able to do it, but it's not realistic at this point for me, sadly. But I want to say something here about the Team Games event, because I'm gonna give you a premiere both.
We have
exclusive, yes. If Warlords 3 is success enough for me and for the community, but obviously in this situation for me, with or without Microsoft support, I'm planning to host a tournament game, And the idea with the current team meta is a Nations Cup 3v3.
Shit!
Amazing.
Why shit?
Because he doesn't have a third. He doesn't have a third.
Who will be my teammates in Norway?
Well, better than 4. If it's 4v4, you have no chance. With 3v3,
can we make it 1v1? 1v1 Nations Cup?
1v1 Nations Cup.
Well, I'm open to those kind of combinations that I think Nearly did in some tournament, that you played some games with 1v1, some games 3v3.
The War is Coming had that, remember? The War is Coming.
It was that, right? Yeah. But I was considering about a Nations Cup, like in the old times, with qualifiers by regions, And then if the top 8 or top 16 teams, not gonna be 3 Argentinas. I love Argentina.
So a World Cup, essentially.
Mm-hmm. It has to be like a World Cup, one is gonna represent the country. So they can, for example, through the qualifiers, make a couple of teams, and then who qualify, and then they can make a whole roster with their best team if they want for the main event, like a real nation, because doesn't make sense, I'm considering to do that, because I never tried, and I think we could do some good stuff, and we have some ideas already with Krasini and Rarimbo.
Mem, go for 2v2. Go for 2v2.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. 2v2 does really great on YouTube, I've noticed. We just talked about this last episode. T90's channel, the most successful esports commentary that he's got is a 2v2 tournament. The second most successful is a 2v2 tournament. 2v2 seems to be like the limit where people can still follow what's happening, and it's not too much happening. So consider 2v2, please. I'm sure you're going to do great. Nations Cup 2v2.
Yeah, but you know, the problem is that when I cast, I mean, the 2v2, it's 90% of the times Scout and Archers all the time, except some
Just
specific
change the
maps.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
make like categories, right? With different.
You
We'll
want
change
me
a
to
little
say
bit.
cartographers?
It might be
You're
similar,
biased, Viper.
but-
Okay.
No, but like I think
Well, we're open.
cartographers.
You are open,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to point out, since you also invite me, I wanted to okay, let's tell to Nelson and to Viper and all the viewers that also you have that we're considering that,
Yeah.
and
Amazing.
that will be nice because we can hype also Warlords as well, and that if I say something and then it's happened, then we will do it. So
Amazing.
But like to bring up that, like cartographers had not very much Scout and Archers play, right? Of course,
It's
there were
fine,
certain open maps, but I think the balance was really well. So
it
I
was
think
those
a 2v2
wacky maps, right?
Yeah. 4 seasons.
well, I
and
love
things like
arena in team games, for example. I prefer
Yeah,
arena in
like-
team games than in 1v1, for example.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, Mem, something else I want to bring up here. So I think it has happened several times. You did talk about some worries that you have considering your situation right now. We did this, I think, during Warlords 2. I think then shortly after Viper and T90 came back to the Twitch scene, you did express some worries about a current situation. You asked your community for what you guys want me to change. How are you feeling right now about all of that? Has anything changed for you? Are things going in a better direction? How is it like for you right now?
I mean, the problem when you are working in this, is like when I started, I never thought that I was going to work in this, right? So it just happens, it just happens because I was just co-casting with Ketsuni for close to 2 years and I was getting nothing. I was just doing because I loved this game for forever. And then I was enjoying to be with someone else. And then people was talking in a chat and people laughed about the stupid things I was talking. Because now I'm checking what I was telling back in the days and how people could enjoy with what we were talking there. I was like, I cannot understand. Then when it come more like a job, there is a moment that you think like, okay, now this is your life, let's say, you're living. And of course, Viper as well, that you now has come back to Twitch. The income now in Twitch is not that it was before.
No,
it's harder and harder every day, And then while I have 2 kids, sadly, I have to say here to many viewers that I'm not 25. Even if they think that it is, I'm not. Yeah, sorry.
Second exclusive.
Another exclusive. Yeah. And then, for example, that's not a secret and it's not going to be like, when you check, for example, everyone check more or less the numbers. I don't know what is the reason. If it's because you went back to Twitch or T90 or whatever, but the numbers personally in my channel has decreased with the same period of time with 2023, like a lot, like a lot. And that's something that you see there. And I didn't change too much. That maybe I should change the content or not. I don't know. The problem with me is that I have to do something that I enjoy myself. Because if I don't enjoy, then I leave this. Because for me, this always has been like a job in quotes. It's been like the dream scenario for many, right? Your hobby become your living. So I feel really happy that this can happen because not many people can say that, right? So I'm okay right now. But obviously, if the trend keep going down, well, maybe I have to find something else in the future. But for now, I'm okay. Can't complain, But it's like everyone in their job. If you are doing the same and you are working hard, and then suddenly you start to get 30% less, 50% less, everyone will be worried. Or we think, what's going on? And you will not feel happy. Who say the opposite, we lie, right? Like, what happened? I'm doing the same and then I'm getting now 50%. And if you have a boss, you tell your boss, increase this or I go to other company. But here, we cannot do that. Yeah. We depend on a third party, let's say. So it's very difficult. The streamer thing is, and you cannot control your thoughts. You feel, you think.
You also mentioned earlier, Memb, that you had burnout or that you felt, I'm not sure if you felt yourself that you were burned out or if you feel like burnout is coming, but we have had a lot of people talking about like pressure of streaming, right? when you're like sitting with your kids and you're thinking, oh, maybe I need to like get more hours or this and that. Like Dave spoke about how like, oh, he knows there's a tournament happening, he should be casting it. But then there's always that choice, and it's always on the back of your mind, even when you're doing your day-to-day stuff, like spending time with family or with friends. How do you deal with the pressure of streaming and such in general? And do you have any methods, or do you just like, I mean, let's be honest, you stream a lot, and your hours on Twitch is a lot. You probably do more than me and Doubt and Taro combined. So
I'm more.
And more. More.
Yeah, but you will be surprised. Now I'm doing a lot less than back in the days.
Mm-hmm.
And then I check, and I'm still doing a lot. So I was like, what the hell I was doing back in the days?
Mm-hmm.
I was checking all the day, and for some months, some years, I was doing close to 300 hours monthly.
Nonsense.
Yeah, I don't know, but I really don't know, because right now I'm doing half, which is still being a lot, because I'm doing 150 hours still a month.
That's, to me, it's a lot still, like a lot.
No, but listen, I feel right now that's still a lot.
Yeah.
I have more problems now to finish the streams. I get more exhausted, and now I'm better physically because I'm going to the gym and so on. But mentally, right now, I don't have that issue. Mainly because I don't think, I have to be streaming there because I'm there. I don't think about that, you know? No, like, for example, during these qualifiers and Warlords, what is my process? I've been in the gym early. I use every day. And for example, today there is some series now. I think there is some series now. I'm not going to cast. I just now have something different with back in the days. Back in the days was a stream. Okay, there is something at 12 p.m. our time, I'm casting. Then I take a break, I come and cast it. No, now what I do, I cast from 5 p.m. our time till 10. 5-6 hours. It's true that I do every day. But for someone that has been doing 10 hours every day for so long, if I now stream every day 5, I feel very good.
Yeah.
So it's what you get used. I mean, since I got used to cast like a beast, and now I'm casting a lot, for many people it's still like a beast, but for me it's half. So it's a lot easier for me, even if it's still quite a lot, because I was used to cast double.
Yeah.
So right now I feel okay in that regard. But still, when we're talking about the primes, the thing is, the subscribers for me didn't drop a lot.
Yeah.
What dropped is the viewership. So what I'm worried is that is the viewership in general being a little bit more down for everyone? Because you talk about T90. T90 barely stream. If you check, it barely stream. He did the hidden cap. I saw that he was a little bit also burned out. So he's not streaming a lot. It's not like I'm streaming and then I'm not getting viewers because all days is streaming. No, it's because, and some days there's nobody else streaming and it's just less viewers in general.
Yeah.
It's what I feel. I don't know what you feel about that.
No, I mean, I have the same, right? These days as well. I can go live and I'll reach 2,000 viewers. And that's like, before I would easily reach 3,000 every stream, right? Now it's
or
like
more.
2,000. Yeah. And like, it's also if like Hera and T9 are streaming, right? Then it's more like who went live first usually has a bigger build-up and they will keep the viewers. And then it's a bit harder for the others to catch up necessarily. And like, T9 always does like low legend, so he will always eventually get up when he's doing his things. But yeah, I definitely noticed that, like, for example, if I go live after Hera, because Hera also has really good viewership these days. So like for some people, it's clearly up, right? Compared to before. But now with the more competition as well, I think it just makes sense the way it is, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I think I can tell you, for example, my explanation. I really believe that there's a amount of viewers that always want to see the 1v1 grinding.
Yeah,
so
of course.
If you, for example, are doing Rage Forest and Hera is doing 1v1, they're going to go watch the 1v1. Because they have specific viewers. I don't know why either, because Raid Forest is the best, you know?
Yeah.
And if you are playing, you are also in Raid Forest, you usually die more because you do troll strategies or never wall. Come on, man. I lurk, man. I lurk.
All right, Memb, to finish the whole thing off, we were just talking about team games earlier and how GL is so dominant these days. So if you could pick like 3 players in a 3v3 to face GL, who would be your ideal 3 players that you think have an actual...
Let's do 4.
Okay, let's do 4v4. Let's do 4v4. Who would be your 4 players that would pick that would actually have a chance if they were put together to defeat GamerLegion these days?
Oof. You should have told me this before.
Lix.
You know? Well, I will put definitely Lyria and Mr. Yo. They have to be there. Lyria as a flank, Mr. Yo as a pocket. You know? And then we need 2 more. We need another good pocket. I think I will put probably Winchester. You know, I will put Winchester as a pocket, and another flank. I think probably Leaks with Mr. Yo in one flank and Winchester and Leary in the other.
Interesting.
I like that team, but I would change. Like I don't see how we can leave ACCM.
ACCM,
out.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh wait, ACCM.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, but you put ACCM as well as a pocket.
I think a pocket. I think
yeah.
he's better in that position.
Replace Winchester, maybe.
Better than Winchester.
Maybe. I know we never want to say better. It's just
Winchester could be a flank instead of Lux, for example, as well, right?
Well, then I will put Viper, ACCM and Mr. Yo pocket, Leary and Winchester flanks.
This became now our dream
approve.
team, not like Memb's dream team. But
true. I approve. I approve.
Okay.
I think that's it. I think a best of 9 with these teams will be really sick.
Somebody make it happen. Memb, listen, we thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Always fun having a chat with you and hearing your thoughts about the whole thing. I wish you all the luck in the world for Warlords 3. I'm very happy about it, very hyped about it as well. And I hope you're going to break that viewership record. I'm pretty sure you will. I'm very hopeful.
Well, I really thank you to your invitation and your wishes. I only hope that we're going to have a great tournament with no problems, you know, and close series.
Yeah.
Close final.
You know?
Let's get a close final.
Without problems. Don't know if they exist. Oh, yeah, the close series as well. Yeah, no. It's gonna be. I'm super hyped for Warlords. It's one of the more fun tournaments in my opinion. So yeah, thanks for coming, man. It was a lot of fun, and all the best.
Thank you. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.